live in the most comfortable era in human history. Any food we desire can be delivered to our doors while barely having to lift a finger. Unlimited entertainment now fits inside our pockets. And in the developed world, we can avoid emotional discomfort, physical adversity, and uncertainty almost entirely. Now, I'd like to get the blood flowing in the room, please, guys. So please raise your hand if you've ordered food in the last year because you couldn't be bothered to cook. Nice, almost everyone admitted it. Thank you very much. Let's go for round two. Please raise your hand if you've spent 20 minutes scrolling on your phone because standing up felt a little bit too difficult. Yeah, very good. More times than I'd care to admit on this stage. And finally, please raise your hand if you've ever seen an email come in and thought to yourself, I'll respond to that a little bit later, only for days to pass before actually getting around to it. Yeah, we've come a long way as a species, haven't we? It's never been easier to choose the comfortable option. And yet, rates of anxiety, depression, and dissatisfaction have never been higher. In 2024, 23.4% of US adults reported experiencing some form of mental illness. That's roughly 1 in 4 people. And so the question becomes obvious. If we're constantly orienting our lives around establishing comfort, then why does it feel like it's not working for us? And the answer is more simple than you might think. We're not broken, we just need to better understand how we're built. The reality is, comfort, when taken too far, it doesn't protect us. It slowly erodes our confidence, our resilience, our sense of purpose. And the modern world and the incentives that shape it are the perfect example of how us humans will always choose the path of least resistance when given the choice. If an app saves effort, it scales. If a product removes friction, it wins. Comfort always gets rewarded. And over time, we learn a simple pattern. If something feels difficult, remove it. If something feels uncomfortable, avoid it. And if something feels painful, numb it. Scroll, snack, Netflix, avoid. The perpetual cycle. But the good news is we're not broken. We're just incredibly effective at finding easier ways to do things. If there's an easier way to do something, as a race, we will find it. And if there isn't, we'll invent one. Now, this is great for things like seatbelts, washing machines, and making sure we don't all die of cholera. But, not funny, but when comfort becomes the default response for everything, we stop growing, and we stop evolving. As everyone knows, we didn't evolve in comfort. We evolved through struggle, adversity, and difficulty. Survival has always required movement. Meaning has always come from responsibility. And confidence has always come from experience. Over millions of years, our brains have learned to reward us for effortful progress, not for passive consumption. But today we live in a world where we're constantly being bombarded with rewards without putting in much effort. And when effort and rewards become disconnected, something breaks. The result is a generation that is connected but isolated, safe but restless, comfortable but deeply unfulfilled. Now, I didn't always understand this. For my entire life, I followed the blueprint that I was given. I worked hard at school. I went and studied mechanical engineering at university, and then I worked in an industry that suited my skill set for a couple of years. And after a couple of years, I had a sudden realization that slapped me in the face. All of a sudden, I could see the next 10 years of my life perfectly laid out in front of me. The same emails, the same conversations, the same desk, but zero adventure, zero uncertainty, and at the end of the day, zero fulfillment. On the inside, I was broken, but on the outside, everything seemed fine. To my friends and family, I was just following the path that I was supposed to. But the reality was, I had no social life, I had no dating life, and I was working far too hard and not enjoying myself. So I reached a low point, a period of depression where I didn't smile for months on end, and I thought to myself, something has to change. I knew I couldn't continue in the same direction. So I saw 2 paths in front of me. I could get a slightly better job, continue stability, numb the pain, and continue on the normal path. Or I could strip everything back, ask myself what I truly wanted, and choose a path that could completely crash and burn, or could give me everything I'd ever dreamed of. So I did what any emotionally stable adult would do, and I quit my job. I bought a GoPro and I booked a one-way flight to the Philippines. I then proceeded to give myself a completely made-up job title, a job title that to this day still only exists in the minds of teenage boys and Instagram comment sections. I'm a full-time adventurer. I stopped asking myself, how do I feel safe and comfortable? And I started asking myself, what scares me and what do I suck at? So I learned to solo skydive and have done over 70 jumps. I ran my first marathon, and I scuba dived in exotic locations all around the world. I climbed higher and higher mountains, quite literally in some cases. This is the summit of Kilimanjaro, after not eating for 48 hours due to altitude sickness, and trekked 5 days deep into the Guatemalan jungle to visit unexcavated Mayan ruins of the biggest Mayan city ever built. I hunted with the last hunter-gatherers in Africa, the Hadzabe tribe of Tanzania. We hunted, slept, and ate together for a couple of days. And I trekked from rim to rim of the Grand Canyon, from north rim to south, a marathon of distance and thousands of meters of descent and elevation. I spent 3 years transitioning from a normal guy working a corporate life to a full-time adventurer, constantly chasing harder and harder challenges. And it didn't change my life overnight, but over time, my confidence started to return. Not because I was giving myself positive affirmations, but because I was actually proving that I could live the life that I dreamt of. Now, the most recent expedition that I took on was last summer, 2025. I decided, stupidly, to row from Manhattan, New York, to the southwest corner of the UK. A journey of 3,500 miles alongside 3 hard-as-nails teammates, all ex-military in the UK. Completely unsupported, rowing non-stop in one of the most dangerous oceans on the planet. But we had no money, so before we could even get to the start line in Manhattan, we had to get a boat. And luckily, there was one washed up in the Bahamas that we could rescue and row to the mainland USA to fix up for our expedition. Now, the Bahamas to the USA is a distance of 280 miles. That's less than 8% of the total crossing distance. So I thought, let's try this out and see what happens. Sure enough, I might be smiling there, but it sucked. It wasn't a tropical holiday. Rowing for 12 hours a day, sleeping in 2.5-hour shifts, eating tinned food, sweltering heat, seasickness, not my idea of a tropical holiday. And then I thought to myself, if I'm struggling with this, surely I'm going to struggle with the North Atlantic. I don't think I can do it. And then I remembered the framework that had always served me so well, the framework I used when I left my job, and the framework I needed to use now. How would the 90-year-old version of myself feel about the decision I'm about to make? Would I say, well done, you really grabbed life by the horns? Or would you say, you just let the opportunity slip you by? So as the pain faded away and the trip finished, we committed. We returned the boat 280 miles to the US and then took on the 3,500-mile journey a year later. Full sponsorship, fast forward a year, on the start line in Manhattan. Now, there's a pivotal moment of an ocean row on day 4, when you reach the point where you can no longer get evacuated by helicopter because you're too far away from the mainland. And in that moment, despite all of the physical adversity, what I mentioned before of 12 hours of rowing a day, limited sleep, seasickness, horrible conditions, I had no mental health issues. There was no anxiety, no depression. In the most uncomfortable experience of my life, I had no mental health considerations, simply because I didn't have the luxury of conjuring up meaningless problems. And then, on day 7, Mother Nature kindly reminded us who was in charge. A storm hit us where we couldn't make any positive progress in the right direction. The waves were coming in perpendicular to the boat and crashing us all over the place, and we couldn't make any progress. There's a phenomenon in the ocean called a rogue wave, where when waves reach a resonant frequency, you can get a wave that reaches 3 or 4 times the surroundings. And before we knew it, I was out on deck with my teammate Jack. We looked over our shoulders. Above our heads was a crashing, whitewashing wave that before we had any time to react, not that we could do anything, we were crashed upside down, overboard, with the boat on top of us. Cold, dark, full of adrenaline. And as the energy from the wave passed, we reacted in the only way we could. We didn't ask, how do we feel in that moment? Not because we're brave, but because it wasn't useful. We got back on, assessed the injuries, assessed the damage, and then kept doing what we could to move in the right direction. Now, it would have been very easy to want to give up in that moment, but something amazing happened in the calm after the storm. On day 10, the weather got calm again, and we made our way towards the Gulf Stream. And this is where the magic happened. We had the bit between our teeth, and we had a lot of ground to make up, or sea to make up. So we rowed hard, and in the end, we rowed further in 24 hours than any other humans have in recorded history, 145 nautical miles, to make our progress back. Thank you. Now, this was a record not born out of comfort, but born out of continuing when quitting would have been understandable. Every single time that I've chosen the difficult option in life, whether that's leaving my job, rowing an ocean, starting an online business, delivering a TEDx talk in front of hundreds of people, my life has expanded drastically. Now, this talk isn't about extreme expeditions or pushing yourself to the limit. It's about integrating small amounts of friction into your daily life so that you can reconnect the relationship between effort and reward. And I'm going to share with you 3 fantastic ways that I continue to do this that might be useful in your own life. Number 1 is exercising regularly, daily if you can. Your body is the gateway to your mind, and when you overcome physical exertion and physical adversity on a daily basis, you set yourself up with mood-boosting hormones and a positive mental framework, and you have evidence that you're moving towards a goal. Secondly, you can build difficulty into your daily routines. Make a contract with yourself. It could be choosing to cycle to work every day no matter the weather. It could be exposing yourself to cold water on a daily basis. Or it could be not always relying on social media to cure your boredom, and instead maybe picking up a book. And the third way, stop burying your problems. Do the most important item on your to-do list instead of the easiest one first. Have that difficult conversation with your partner instead of bottling up the emotion and saving it for a more convenient time. Keep showing up for yourself, even when, and especially when, motivation disappears. Because if discomfort isn't chosen, it will always be avoided. Now, this isn't about rowing oceans or climbing mountains. It's about stopping avoiding the difficult things in life when they crop up. Because comfort won't ruin your life overnight. It will do something much, much worse. It will quietly shrink it. So ask yourself, what's that difficult thing that you know you can do, but you've been avoiding? Not because it's too difficult, but because it's uncomfortable. If you face it head first, just watch your life expand. Thank you.